Well, hello. We're going to go through the critiques for the self-introduction speech. And here we go. We're going to do this by fantasy name, and I'll tell you point blank that some of you haven't sent me a fantasy name. And if you haven't, then you're not going to know who I'm talking about. A fair number of you still have not followed the directions to put the speeches and the paperwork that goes with the speeches in the same spot at the same time. And as a result, I'm missing sometimes the video and sometimes the paperwork. And I got to read the syllabus. If I don't get your speech, I've spent the last 2 days trying to find some of these speeches with all the technical help around this building that we have. And it's been almost an impossible task because some of you have put them someplace, I don't know how or why or what, but it's not where they're supposed to be. And I'm not going to do this kind of detective work to trace down where you put it. Read the directions. Okay, first person up is Goddess. This is your fantasy name. You have the wrong shot. This is the shot. Bust line, inch or two above the head. That's the only shot I want to see. I know it says something else somewhere from the waist up. Shoot straight in. Straight in. Some of you are shooting up. As a result, when the camera goes up, I'm getting the light over your head. That causes your iris and your camera to close down, and it causes a horrible shot. Some of you have way too much room on the side, on the top, on the bottom, and I can't see you. I need to see you in your eyes. Watch reflections on your glasses so I can still see your eyes. All right, Goddess, no flow. You need to have flow. It needs to go smoothly from point to point to point, not here, 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 and here, and then each thing, and then the audience has to try to figure out, well, how do those all come together? All right, make that happen. You seem to be reading too much. Also, it was an extremely abrupt ending. It just... What? What happened? All right, and don't do this with your hair, people. Brush it back. And I have no paperwork from you. Next person up is Habisha. Habisha, watch words on the shirts. You get those words on the shirts, and the audience ends up reading what the shirt says. And as a result, when they're reading what the shirt says, they're not paying any attention to what you say. Put your camera on a tripod. A lot of you need to do that. It's moving too much, and as a result of all of the movement, I'm having trouble concentrating on you. Fix the composition. Bust shot an inch or two above your head. Overall, this was an okay audio presentation. Pretty good job on the audio. Watch the vocalized pauses, the ums and the ahs and those kinds of things. And again, an abrupt ending. It's got to end as though you actually planned for it to end where it ended. All right, next person is Twyla. Too much room noise. Way too much room noise. The microphone is on the camera. Get the microphone closer to you. Means move the camera closer to you. Don't zoom to this shot and have the camera way back there. Move the camera to this shot. All right, you have the wrong shot. You have a good flow, by the way, from place to place. Slow down a little bit. I have no paperwork from you. Next person up is Apple. Apple, stand still. A lot of you are doing one of these things where you're moving constantly, and as a result, I can't concentrate on what you're saying. Finish strong. You have a nice, strong start to your speech. You got a nice, strong middle. Finish strong. Have some reason to end. Not just, well, that's the end of my speech. Thanks for listening. That's just not a good, strong finish. And watch what you do with your hands. All right, the next person up. I have no fantasy name, but you're not going to know this because you also gave me no submission. Next person up is, I have no fantasy name, but you have the wrong composition. I got no paperwork from you. You're shooting into a light. You're looking down, which means the camera's there, and you're shooting up into the light, as I just said. You have a very abrupt ending. You need to work on flow, and you have a video flare in your picture, which is really causing some distortion. Another person with no fantasy name. I have no paperwork from you. You have the wrong shot composition. The top of your head is cut off because you're doing one of these kinds of things. All right? Watch. Folks, look at your picture. Look at what you do in your speech before, but afterwards, look at it. If it's not right, do it again. I need eye contact from you. You need to be looking at the camera. I'm the camera. I'm the person that's judging you. I'm the person that's putting the grade down. Look at me when you talk. Don't be looking over there all the time you're talking. Don't be looking over there all the time you're talking. Look at me. All right? You have a distracting sweatshirt with lots of words on it too. And again, you're not going to know who you are because I don't have a fantasy name on you. Next up is Whistle. Your speaking notes are in the wrong format, Whistle. And you have the wrong shot. You're shooting up. You're not centered in the shot. You're over here or over here when you're doing that. Watch the tisk, the sound that sounds like this when you're talking. And when you do that, that sound is very, very annoying. Ray is up. I can't open your speech, Ray. That's it. No paperwork, no speech. Also, next up is, I did that wrong. Let me go back to figure out what I've just done here. Hang on 1 second. Ray, again, that all stands for you. That's what it needs to be. The next person up is Phoebe. And Phoebe, you have no eye contact. You're looking the wrong way. Your T-shirt, because of the way you do your camera work, is printed backwards. So that's a good sign that you're not getting the shot that you need to get. Next up is Roman, but I don't have any video from Roman, and thus I have no paperwork either. And next person up is Rose. And Rose, stand still when you're speaking. Stand still. Don't be rocking around when you speak. Watch the wringing of the hands throughout the speech. That's the kind of the wringing of the hands when you're doing things. Use notes. It doesn't appear that you're using any kind of notes when you're speaking. Also, watch the vocalized pauses, the ums and the uhs. Look at the camera. Eye contact. Look at the camera. If you're not looking at the camera, then, you're looking over there or something. Need that. Rehearse for time. You ran 2 minutes and 48 seconds in something that should have gone from 1 minute to 2 minutes. 2 minutes and 48 seconds. You need to rehearse. And also, don't ad-lib. It appeared as though you were not following any kind of notes. Next person is Shine. Shine, I have originally had no submission video. Had to look all over for it. Stand still. By the way, I got no paperwork from you either. Stand still. The good composition, good shot composition, looks like you're holding some kind of, it looks like you may be holding your hands behind your back, kind of like they're back here like that. All right, where are your notes? I don't see any sign that you're speaking from notes. And look at the notes occasionally if you have them while you're speaking. The next person up is Jax. I have no paperwork from Jax. Stand still, Jax, when you're speaking. Watch mouth sounds. The tisk sound is just one of the sounds that we get from time to time. Finish strong on a sentence. Don't start your sentence and then get to the end of this. What? So make sure when you're speaking, I didn't hear what it said at the end. All right, and it also looked like it was edited because the video just abruptly had a glitch in it. Next up is Indy. Wrong shot composition. Very hard to hear you. Even when I cranked the audio up on my recorder as high as I could get it. Too much hand movement. Get the camera mic closer to you. In other words, get the microphone closer to you. And you have an intriguing style. I'm looking forward to hearing more from you. Next up is Harley. You have the wrong shot. You're not looking at the camera. Don't elongate words. Don't say like math, English. Martin Luther King could do that when he said, "I have a dream," but you're not Martin Luther King, and it's distracting when you do that. So be careful of elongating words. And are you standing? It looked like you were leaning on something or something's different. All right, next up is Ruby. Ruby, you have the wrong shot. What are you holding? You held it way too long, and it distracted the dickens out of me because I'm trying to figure out, why are you standing there holding something like that? And then when you showed it, you didn't show it long enough for me to get any detail on what it was or what it was. You kind of folded your arms like this, which is a kind of a disgusting body language position. You want to be careful that you're not showing contempt for the listener. You had a very abrupt ending. Before you even finished speaking, the camera stopped. And I can't understand some of your words, like where your brother worked. I have no idea where your brother worked because I couldn't understand what you were saying. Next up is Lillian. You need a little closer composition of your picture. You had a good story, and a good story well told. You don't explain clearly what the phone call was about. It was key to your speech because that's how you started to get me intrigued on what you were talking about, but you never explained what the phone call was about. I have a feeling that that's what's needed to succeed. You have a feeling that's what's needed to succeed, but you didn't really elaborate. And finally, happy. You have a very good shot composition. You have a good pace. You watch your grammar a little bit, and you have great facial expression, and this is all good stuff, very positive. Now, folks, you got to get the paperwork and the video where it's supposed to be at the time it's supposed to be there. If you're not sure and you see a 0 in the grade book, that means I didn't get whatever that was. Now, keep up on the assignments. Remember, you must do all the speech assignments. If you don't, you fail the class. And we can't just go back and say, well, we'll give you 2 more weeks to do it. It's only an 8-week class. We're almost halfway through already. So you need to follow directions and do what must be done. Okay? We're going to stop here. We'll talk to you more later. But please pay attention to what I said and make sure you don't fall victim to some of those little niggly problems that are going to cause you to not do well in this class. By the way, grades-wise, nobody's doing really great so far. Don't anybody get excited. Don't anyone start calling me, well, I only got X, and how come I didn't get Y? Well, Y was only 2 more. It's not going to make that much difference. You want to go for the big points. You want to go for the big points by paying attention to what I say and then incorporating that into your speeches when you give them. That'll do the best to help your success. We'll talk to you next time. Have a good weekend.